Alright, so I had done a video about this earlier, but I didn't like the video, so I'm going to redo it. And then I'll share this one. I wanted to talk about Aikido a little bit. I've heard a lot of people debating about, the legitimacy of Aikido and Steven Seagal. And, yeah. So, my take is that it's not a question as to whether Steven Seagal is a legitimate martial artist. And it's more a question as to the legitimacy of Aikido. If you watch his training and his demo footage from when he was younger, you see alert, you see on point, you see really proficient movements, you see the techniques for what they are done very well. So it's not to say that he wasn't and isn't a legitimate martial artist. It's more to say whether or not you believe that there's any legitimacy to Aikido. Now, I've also heard people say that it's what the samurais did when they didn't have their swords or whatever, and that's not true. It has a lot of derivatives in regards to a number of martial arts that were Japanese that focused on joint locks and manipulations like that. There's what the samurai did were a number of arts, but probably more consistent with traditional jiu-jitsu, which was probably much more focused around the armor and getting back to your weapons. Probably very similar to what a lot of the modern military does. It has to be around their weapons, around their weapon system, and around their armors and their enemies' armor and everything like that. So, but that's a whole different story. Aikido was, as officially called Aikido, it started being called, it used to be called Aikikai, and there was a number of other names from the 1920s to the 1930s with that, but it was in the 1940s that it started being officially called Aikido. So that's when you can say it was officially founded, if you ask me. Morihei Ueshiba wasn't born until the 1880s, so it's not true that it's what the samurai did. It's not true. Now, Morihei put together Aikido as a culmination of his philosophic revelations, his religious tendencies, and his study in martial arts. And that's what it was meant to be. It was meant to be an all-around practice to develop all of those things. If you want to do that, I think you should take the approach of a really, really good, well-represented Kung Fu. Because, if you're going to use a combative form to enhance your mind, your spirit, and your body, that's a better way to do it. And that allows you to practice many other martial arts as long as you use that same approach to doing well and training it diligently and being good at it. And there's a lot of people that have never practiced Kung Fu, I would say, have Kung Fu, if philosophically speaking. When I practiced Aikido, it was a very traditional, and it was a very traditional instructor, and it was only for just under a year. It was a husband and wife team. The husband was good. The wife, however, he called in sick one time. She did Hungar and Choi Li Fut and a number of other martial arts. And she took over the class one time, and that woman can really kick ass a lot better than the husband. So it was, as that traditional of a school or a teacher, I saw it as something that was a really good way to stay a little bit active and but not get like your bell rung or anything like that, really. And it was a good way to learn how to use leverage and manipulate joints and things like that. But it basically stopped there. And that was by far not how to fight. So if you want to know how to fight, it's not Aikido. Now, after that, spent a lot of money, and I went and did a bodyguard course, an executive protection course, and I trained with a lot of law enforcement guys and ex-military guys that used Aikido. Their version of Aikido was very different. It wasn't something that was going to be in a dojo to make them a stoic person or something like that. It was something that they were going to have to use tomorrow, and their life was going to depend on the effectiveness of it. So the paradigm was very different. And you got to figure with law enforcement, for example, you already have a platform as to how, when you started introducing Aikido, they already had a platform as to how they were going to deal with their, anybody who was an opponent. They just needed to use Aikido's wrist locks and joint manipulations and throws and takedowns and submissions, because they are very legal friendly. So they already had a realistic paradigm to work with, and then they threw Aikido into it. It's very different than practicing traditional Aikido. So I would never rule Aikido out as a martial arts completely, but as all martial arts go, you really need to look at how it's trained and the mentality of the people that are practicing it. Does this seem like a cult, or does this seem like it's a real thing that really wants to improve you and make you better and have a full understanding of how to fight and be a good person, etc. So that's my opinion on Aikido and Steven Seagal. I know I've never met him. I don't know how he is, but I hear that he's an asshole. And I hear almost nothing but he's an asshole, with the exception of the people from Cold Steel, who I've met those guys, and I like those guys a lot. So they seem to like him. So I'm a little bit on the fence with that a little bit. So I've trusted people that I do know and I have met that do like him. So I don't know, maybe he's changed in his age, but he has admitted to some pretty asshole dick moves. So it's hard to say that he's a great person. I don't know. I also can't say he's not. He is a legitimate martial artist, though. It's just whether or not you feel that traditional Aikido is legit. And I think I'd use it in a fight sooner than Tai Chi, but that doesn't mean you don't practice Tai Chi, and that also doesn't mean you wouldn't want to practice Aikido. There's advantages to it, but it's pretty much mostly out of my life at this point. So yeah, have a good one, everybody. Stay safe, and keep your head on a swivel. Get out there, practice martial arts, do the warrior thing. Take what you learn from there, put it to your job, put it to how you treat people, put it to how you think and how you live every day.